Here we are going to introduce Ravi Saxena, who's an alumni of IIM Ahmedabad, 93 batch, CEO of multiple companies like Sodexo, Landmark, kicked his career at his prime, decided to set up Wonderchef 11 years ago, a market leader in India with presence in multiple countries including Dubai, UK and various others. Here, let's listen to him. Why did he set this up? How did he grow this? What were his inspirations and what were his challenges? Hi Ravi.
Hi Prashant, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to meet you. Now, you built this company from scratch, right? You were the first and the only employee, and today you have such a large setup, the best brand in the country, and going global. How did you do this?
When we start any business, we cannot be in a rush. And I say this from experience. I was fortunate that early enough in my career, I got the experience, the exposure to setting up companies, to setting up businesses. So while I started Wonderchef when I was 40, actually when I was not yet 25, I joined a company called Sodexo in France. Nobody knew it in India, nobody could pronounce the name in India. And I joined them in France, pretty much the first job after campus. And after a couple of months, I convinced them to let me come back to India and see how we can set up the company. So I think my roots of entrepreneurship were laid right back then when I was 25. My key message is to you that there is no early enough to start entrepreneurship. Some of us think that we should make enough money and then we will start entrepreneurship. Some of us think we have to get into entrepreneurship straight after college. I think any route is good. A lot of us become entrepreneurs in our lives, but most of us work for other people, and that's okay. I think the best thing is that even when we work for somebody else, we work in a good job. Every job is good, by the way, we have to make it good. When we work in a job, we have to work in the job like an entrepreneur. And there's even a term for it, it's called entrepreneurship. We are in the job and we are working like an entrepreneur. What does it mean? It does not mean that we get equity necessarily, it does not mean we take risk necessarily, it does not mean that we invest necessarily. What it means is that we take ownership. Entrepreneurship means ownership. So all of you who are either studying or working, either for yourselves or for somebody else, take ownership. Even as a student, one has to take ownership. Because the characteristics that you need to become a successful entrepreneur cannot get developed overnight. One has to groom them year after year, month after month, day upon day. And the roots of that are put in when we are still young, we are still in college or even school. We take ownership of our actions, we take ownership of our performance, our tests, our homework, everything. When we get into our first jobs, we must take ownership of our performance. A lot of people get into the cribbing mode. ये job अच्छा नहीं है, मैं गलत फंस गया. They become, rotating doors, revolving doors. They just change from organization to organization. In my 30-year career, I have just worked for 3 companies, and I'm proud of that. And within those companies, I have started multiple businesses. So yes, I have exposure to multiple businesses, but just in 3 companies. Because if you want to do something, if you want to develop something, real ownership lies in contributing to the organization you are working for, whether yours, whether somebody else's. So that is how, Prashant, I started. Journey is never easy. It's step by step. But I don't think my journey started around 11 years ago when I started Wonderchef. I think it started right in college or right after college when I joined Sodexo, when I took ownership of my actions. And I made sure that whatever I do, I make it successful. And I stick around till the time we are successful as an organization. And I think entrepreneurship was just one more step in that direction, not a dramatic change in my life.
Ravi, where do you see Wonderchef 5 years from now?
So yes, we started off about 10 years ago with nothing. 10 years ago, let's go back to the era, it was 2009-10, which means right after the terrible financial crisis. The Dow Jones had tanked, Lehman Brothers and so many other financial companies had gone down the drain. And that is the time I thought was the best one to quit my job and to start on my own. Because one thing I've learned in life is that when the times are toughest, that is when great businesses get formed. That is when the foundation for good businesses is laid. Because capital is not available, but capital is risky in the beginning. You have to work with your own passion, with your own little money that you can put in. And that's when you learn how to respect capital, how to respect somebody else's wealth also. So that's the time we started. And it was very difficult. I mean, the journey was not easy. There used to be times when I used to wonder that, I was heading teams of 20,000, 30,000 people. And what am I doing here now, sitting with two people who seem half depressed because, we don't know where the salary would come on at the end of the month. But I think every entrepreneur has to pay his dues. And as we say in India, it takes about 1,000 days to set up a business. If you can survive the first 1,000 days, that means you have understood what you want to do. The universe accepts your business model and people will do respect you for what you are. And I have seen that in any business that I have set up. I have seen that first 3 years or first 1,000 days is the most critical. So yes, it was an interesting journey. We got lucky a few times in the sense that there were great people who came and supported us. Chef Sanjeev Kapoor agreed to become my partner at the beginning itself. I am ever so grateful to him. And even today we are together and great friends and we enjoy working every day. There were investors who came along, first some friends from Europe who had seen me work in Sodexo and they respected the way I worked. And they came in, they supported us with some money. I remember our first investment was not even 1 crore. And then after 3 years, for 3 years we survived with just 1 crore rupees. In a model which is inventory led, where we have to invest in the stock and then sell the stock. But we survived with just 1 crore. And then a very nice elderly gentleman, almost like my father figure, he wrote us a check of $1 million. At that time it was 50 rupees, so it was a 5 crore check. And it changed our life because we started professionalizing the company. Then along came the first private equity investment, then the second private equity investment. So it's been an interesting journey. We learned a lot. Today we are at the brand level, we are doing sales of about 450 crores per year. And I can tell you in India it's a mid-sized company. It's not easy to achieve 450 crores in brand sales in a consumer durable business where everything that you sell is actually meant to last for 5 to 20 years. So there's replacement is not so often, it's not that we consume it, but the challenge is always to find new customers or sell more products to the existing customers, cross-sell. So a whole lot of tools and techniques go into that. I think it's been a fantastic journey. Now, next 5 years, I think our startup days are kind of over, though I would like to keep that spirit. I would like to maintain the spirit of a startup forever. But today we cannot make mistakes and say we are a startup, so we are not a startup for making mistakes anymore. I think we have to grow very carefully now. Times are interesting, times are tough again, which makes me feel excited. We have various challenges going around the world right now, and you know all of them. You know there is a financial crisis in India with the NBFCs, banks, etc. The consumer sentiment is low. There are challenges in the society around CAA and NPR and whatnot, some meaningless, some meaningful. But it just takes away the focus of the consumer from consumption to some other issues. And now, these days, as I speak, there is the threat of the coronavirus. After a couple of years, somebody is watching me and will say, hey, what was coronavirus? But today, let me tell you, it's a pandemic. It's a very serious thing that is going around the world. People catching very dangerous kind of flu, highly infectious. So people have stopped going to malls, they are not shopping so much anymore, they are conserving their cash. So as a brand, tremendous challenge, but also tremendous opportunity. These are the times when you look into your organization, you look into your people, and you bring them together, and a family comes closer with the crisis. And that's what I see happening. So next 5 years, I would say are a bit unpredictable. Only one thing I know is that we will grow, we will become stronger. And in 5 years, we aim to become at the brand level a 1,000 crore company. So yeah, that's our next aim in 5 years.
What role have your teams played in building this organization, or even Sodexo or Landmark?
I think ultimately, Prashant, anything that is done by any entrepreneur is thanks to the team that he or she puts around themselves. Without the people, nothing can be achieved in any business. And especially the kind of businesses that I have built. Frankly, people say you are very creative, Ravi. You innovated Sodexo, you managed to sell something as strange as meal vouchers, gift coupons into the country. Some say that, Wonderchef is a very innovative concept, great products. I think I'm the least creative person around. I only listen to my people. And people, job as a leader has always been to listen to them carefully, choose the best ideas. Sometimes I don't even pay them for it, because they don't know they have given me the idea. But yes, they give me the idea and it stays with me, and they go away and I use that idea, and I have no shame in saying that, because I'm thankful to all of them who have contributed to this success in my life. And so it's just, I think listening is a great skill, and one must listen to the people, and people should be happy in the company. Everything is achieved by the teams. I rarely go out and manage to meet my distributors or customers or clients. I'm mostly in my cabin playing on Excel and PowerPoint, just strategizing and training some people, coaching some people. Once in a while I go for some important meetings. But it's our last person on the customer touch point who is impacting our sales, who is creating our brand, who has the best ideas often as to what the customer requires. We call it weak signals. There has to be a mechanism in the company to listen to the weak signals that emerge from the customer touch point, and they have to cross various levels of the organization and reach the ears of the management, so that strategically things can be corrected if need be. So everything is the teams, their motivation, the way we listen to them, how happy they are, how excited they are about the vision of the company, have they bought into the mission of the company or not, why do they come to work every day. If they have an answer to that, I think they are happy at work.
Now, Ravi, my next question is that how have you managed to keep your employees engaged, right? Most of your employees, once they join you, at least at senior level, they never leave you, right? And some of them have stayed with you across your various organizations that you work for. What's the secret sauce of engaging and retaining employees, maybe even attracting employees? At least in the startup days, it's very difficult.
That's true. That's true. And I remember attracting people for Sodexo was as difficult as attracting people for Wonderchef. While Wonderchef I started on my own, Sodexo was a multinational, but who knew? Nobody knew Sodexo name. So I can tell you it was as difficult, and nobody even understood the business model. And I did not have credibility behind me. I was very fresh and young myself. I think there are a few factors that go, according to me, that's my secret sauce. Everyone can have their own secrets. One is my own passion. I think that is a bit infectious. When I work, when I talk about my business, when I talk about my dreams, my vision, my plans for the company, my business model, I think I've always been passionate. And passionate doesn't mean that I'm shouting from the rooftops. Passionate means I really believe in what I'm saying, and I believe in what I'm saying is because it is based on research and calculations. So some of you may find it funny, but even before I start a business, my Excel sheet, my 5-year business plan month on month is ready for that business, right from P&L to the cash flow statements to the balance sheet. It's a pie in the sky, but buildings are made based on this foundation. If we just start not knowing what will be our business model, we will not reach anywhere. And because this is clear in my mind, when I talk to somebody, when I try to engage people, even as a startup, I think they buy into it because they know that this guy knows what he's talking about. And I think that is what people seek in a leader. The leader should know what he's talking about. It's not just about shouting from the rooftops. It's about knowing where you want to go and how do you reach there. Want to we change our strategy along the way? Absolutely. We question it every single day. Every single input makes us focus, go back to the drawing board, and question our decisions, question our business plans, question our strategy. We change. But let me tell you, after 11 years in Wonderchef today, I still use the same model, the same worksheets that I started with 11 years ago, even before I had hired the first employee in Wonderchef. I was alone, I was sitting in my cabin, and it was a business center, and I was making this business plan. It took me 2 days. We still use the same template. Numbers have changed. At that time, I had not envisioned that one day we could be 400 or 500 crores, and we could think of jumping to 1,000 crores. As an entrepreneur, I thought I would be very happy in 2009. I thought I'd be very happy if I can make a 100 crore business, which I own. But the business plan was there, numbers have changed, they have gone up, with every investment they have gone up. So one thing, to put it succinctly, is your own planning of your business. That will give you conviction, that will give you passion, that is what people will be seeking when they follow you. The second thing, which is very important, is why people want to work, why are they happy? Research after research has shown that people don't buy into a salary. Yes, they negotiate the salary hard, it's a hygiene factor, and they want to be treated well. But the reason why people change the most is because of the organizational culture, mostly reflected by their own supervisor. That is why people change. And that has always been my obsession, that the companies that I have built, they should have a good culture. They should have a culture of celebration, they should have a culture of truth, loyalty, but most importantly, there should be no politics. Now it's a dirty word, and I find it very dirty. Politics means that I have a different agenda from success of the organization. If somebody has that, they have no place in our organization. People know this, they keep themselves aligned. We systematically remove the roadblocks that come in people's paths. And when everyone can contribute to their fullest, when everyone has a path they can walk on without hurdles, without political issues, I think that's when they are the happiest. And I find that is the reason why people who have joined me have stayed on for years and years altogether.
Has purpose played a role in bringing people together?
Absolutely. As I said, the vision of the leader and the organization has to be absolutely clear. And the vision cannot be just dry numbers. It has to be translated, in my opinion, to the language of every person who works there or every department who is there. The vision may be manifested differently for a salesperson, differently for an accountant, but the purpose has to be the same. And absolutely, purpose absolutely plays a great role, which we may call, at least I call the purpose the mission. Why do I come to work every day? Why do I wake up and I go to work for Wonderchef every day? What is my mission? And what is the mission of my company, and how am I helping it achieve it over the years? And that for me is the purpose or the mission of every employee in this company.
What inspired you to chuck a very flourishing career and start off on a full-time entrepreneurship?
I have to look back in my life 10 years to answer that. I think after a long time somebody has asked me this, so I'm a bit flummoxed. What inspired me? I think it was two things. One, I had been building businesses from scratch. In Sodexo, I was the only employee, the first employee for a couple of years, and managed to put together a large organization with 5 different businesses, more than 20,000 people in the 12 years that I was there. And then I joined Landmark Group, again started from scratch, from zero, and built up a team of almost 3,000 people within the couple of years that I was there. What I realized is that I have the ability to build businesses. But after some point, I don't have the freedom to take it in the direction that I want to take it in. Once the business is set up, there are many heads which start talking, and I may have a certain vision, which may or may not agree with the mission or the purpose of the owner. And I have seen that things change. So I thought that maybe I should do something where I can build it in my own way, having learned from all these great organizations where I have worked. and there will be no limits. I can continue to run it in my own way even after we are successful. And let me share with you that thought has borne fruit. And for the last 5 years after Wonderchef has been established well, we are able to grow it absolutely in the direction that we believe is the right one for the organization. So that was one thing. And second thing was of course regarding returns. So even as a CEO I was handsomely paid, but when you are building businesses, there comes a point where you start thinking whether I should continue to build equity for somebody else or I should build value in equity for myself. And I think that was the second thought. There is a risk. There is no return without risk in life. So there was a risk. My bank balances, after having worked for almost 15 years as a CEO, had some savings after buying my house, car, etc. But whatever those savings were, they came down to zero. Zero, including my PF or PPF which I withdrew. Everything came down to zero for a few months in my life. It was a bit of a disturbing period as well, because you wonder what have you done in your life. But I was confident. I was confident that the company that I am building has value. And it was, I think, about 3 years post starting the company. And from there, we took a turnaround and we continued from strength to strength. And here we are as a rather largish organization today. So yes, and the equity has a lot of value. So absolutely, there were the two guiding factors. One was freedom of expression, and the other was to build equity value for myself and my partners and my key employees, rather than for somebody else.
What would be your advice to young professionals as well as early stage startups?
Well, I can go on and on this one. It's a topic close to my heart and something that I have lived up myself. But a few things. One, I said at the beginning of the interview, that what is entrepreneurship? And I said entrepreneurship is whether you own or for somebody else. Have that sense of purpose, have that sense of ownership. Because tomorrow when you start a company and you have people working for you, you want them to be working with the same passion. You would want them to be working with the sense of ownership for your organization. And that will not happen unless you have practiced it yourself and you know how to foster it within your company. Second thing is that use your capital very carefully. Respect it. Even when somebody gives it to you, treat it like it's your own money. Let me tell you an anecdote. After 12 years of working with Sodexo, and I didn't own a single share, I was an employee. It's a French company. When I left the company, hundreds of people, including my closest friends and relatives, they called me and they asked me, "Oh, you have sold Sodexo? How much?" And I used to laugh. I said, "I have not sold Sodexo. I don't even have one share." For years and years, people felt that it's my own company because that's the way I work. Some people came back to me and said, some of my consultants who were dear friends, they came back to me and said, "We are very upset with you." I said, "Why?" They said, "You negotiated so hard with us. We thought it's your own company. So we gave in. And now we are realizing that it was not even your own company. Why were you so tough with us?" I was very proud of myself because I said that's the sense of ownership. And that's why the company trusted me. And that's why perhaps I was successful in building the business. So yes, you have to treat your capital as well as the investor's capital as your own money, just like you would bargain for your own money. And I think if I were to give you a quick third one, I would say keep the spirit alive in the organization. Whatever be the times, tough or easy, keep the spirit alive. Dance, celebrate, have parties, don't throw money. Find cheap ways of doing it, whatever be your size, whatever be your margins, but continue to party, continue to enjoy with your teams, and you will never be disappointed.